Welcome to Salvage, a podcast for conversations with artists about the repurposed materials they use in their art practice.
Hi, I'm Natalia. Thank you for being here. Today, my guest is Chrissanth Gross. Chrissanth is a plein air and portrait painter based in Westchester, New York. She says that she creates tiny portals to sacred places, and her clients say that her landscapes convey a feeling of peace, a sensation that takes them back to moments of connections, appreciation, and gratitude. If she can contribute to their lives in this blessed way, it is an honor and joy. In addition, Chrissanth is now an activist, helping the planet find a solution to the plastic problem. Thank you, Chrissanth. I so much admire you as an artist in so many ways. So thank you for agreeing to come on my podcast, which still feels very weird to say.
Yeah, what a pleasure.
Thank you. So could we start from the very beginning?
Sure.
So I was looking at your website, and I know we've had conversations about this in the past, but looking at your website reminded me that you come from a family of artists, and you've been making art from since you were like one or something like that. So could you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, my dad was an illustrator and my mother was a model, both photography and for illustrators, much beloved among the illustrators. So hence their relationship. And so I grew up in a house of image makers all the time. And I often was called in to model myself for dad. So I saw the whole process happening from, the photo shoot to the sketches to the final art executed. And my mom was also very crafty. She would figure out how to reuse anything and build stuff. She loved to do things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. So when did you and how did you get started on your art career?
Well, growing up with the feast and famine at the time, I practiced a lot of avoidance. There was some trauma involved as well, because I remember I was 5 years old and my dad was working on a portrait of my mother. And every day I'd come home from school, I'd watch Dark Shadows with my cookies and milk, and then I'd go off to his studio to see what was cooking. And he's working on this portrait of my mom. And one day I came in there and I said, Dad, those are not mommy's eyes. Those eyes are like Angelique from Dark Shadows, and they're scaring me. So you got to fix mommy's eyes. And he would usually just say, yeah, and get your little fat hands away from the paint and shoot me out. And every day for like a week, I'd come back in, I'd tell him the same thing, and he wouldn't listen. So one day I snuck into Daddy's studio and I fixed mommy's eyes and probably threw a little color into the skirt. And for that, I earned a firm boundary, and that was laid down with a cheese paddle on my behind.
Oh boy, those were the days, huh?
Yeah, right. It felt like, like I was getting my head cut off or something, even though he definitely didn't hit me hard. He didn't hurt me, but it was traumatic.
Yeah, I bet.
So how did I develop as an artist? I practiced a lot of avoidance. I majored in English literature, and while all my friends were peeling off, taking the exams for law school and medical school, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? So I applied to grad school in English literature, and I got a direct admit to a PhD program at the University of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
So I actually did a master's in English literature before I realized that, I didn't really have anything else to contribute to all the dusty stacks. And the artwork on my office walls were growing. So I decided to come back to New York and sort of take it up.
So you were painting as you were majoring in English lit?
Mostly drawing. Just drawing classes. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Wow. I know you do these amazing human figure drawings. I think I've seen you do paintings, but those are portraits, right? You paint some portraits.
Yeah, I paint portraits in oil and also using an unusual technique with ink, which is very nice. It's a very small, intimate scale for children. You
Oh,
can
yes,
really
I've
see
seen
the
those.
hand
They're
of the
so
artist.
delicate.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And then the large figure drawings in charcoal and pastels, which is really different to the work my dad did as an illustrator. I mean, his figures were very idealized and, mine are warts and all, very,
Yeah. I have very vivid memories of seeing your charcoal figures. They're in your face, and yet they're really beautifully delicate at the same time.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I like them.
Yeah. But then you also do really gorgeous studies of nature or paintings of nature, and you do those in plein air?
Yep, absolutely. Because I just, having worked from the photograph for so many years myself, I thought it was so refreshing to be out in nature and just working from life. And Mother Nature is a very patient model. All kinds of things. She's going to throw all kinds of things at you between constantly changing with the light of the day and with the insects and the weather. But it's part of the joy for me. There's nothing better than standing outside, listening to the birds sing in a shady corner, you know, early in the morning or late in the day, and just seeing the beauty of nature. And it's so therapeutic to, if you're ever feeling stuck, you see that things are changing constantly, and you say, you know what? I'm part of that. I can come along too.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, yeah, I remember no, it's probably more than like 10 years ago. Um, I bumped into you. You were painting at Rockefeller State Park. And
Yeah,
I come around the corner and there's Chrissanth with her gear all set up. I think you had
yep,
an umbrella and you were standing there painting the Palisades across the Hudson.
that's right. That's right.
That
Yep.
was fun.
And you were probably there with dog and plastic bag picking up trash.
Probably. I don't know if I was picking up trash yet then.
Ah,
I was probably actually, you know what I picked up a lot of there is feathers.
ah,
Yeah, I don't know why, but I kept finding feathers on those walks at that specific park. I saw trash too, and I'm sure I picked it up here and there. But it was mostly feathers. I have quite a collection of feathers from those walks.
nice.
Why? They're
Mhm.
lovely to look at.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they were.
You still do all this art,
Hmm.
traditional, so to speak, art. And yet now you are also doing some art with plastic and you have become an activist. How did this come about?
Well, little by little, in my community is just part of a way to giving back to the bounty of the beauty that surrounds me. I spend time along the roadsides picking up trash. Um, and I have a wonderful setup now. I use a spare garbage can with wheels on it because
Oh,
those roadside pickups and they give you the orange bags. Boy, those bags get very heavy very fast. And then you're dragging it, and then you have a hole in the bag. So that's not very useful. So I got my kind of professional setup with two back savers, the pickers. And I go along the roads and I try to make a clean sweep of the road that I'm on. And because it's important to show people that no, not everybody does this. I don't want it to stay there. I
you just one day noticed the trash along the road and decided to go pick it up? Is that how you started?
Well, I think as an artist, you tend to notice a lot of stuff. And I developed a real eye for all the things that are not right. And that's my husband just hates it. Why do you have to be so critical? You're always saying what's wrong. Well, that's who I am. So anyway, yeah, I thought it was important to do these pickups. So between that and between seeing the wonderful art that you do with plastic, somewhere along the line, starting to see all the plastic that I was picking up and doing all these sort of trash forensics. Um, I, I know what it was. Especially it was because of you. It was the project you were doing, I think it was about a year ago, and you were asking for people to contribute.
Oh,
Um,
yes,
the
I was
supply.
collecting.
Maybe it
Yep.
was the plastic river or something
Yeah.
that started it. And I thought, oh, well, I can help with that for sure. And so I saved a lot of stuff. And that practice really blew my mind when I saw how much stuff. And now my husband kids me, I'm like the garbage Nazi. Every time I open that garbage pail, I'm going through it and I see all the plastic that my family of two right now is throwing out. And I'm like, what's the matter with you people? Didn't I just tell you that I'm collecting? But I think a lot of times people don't even realize
No.
plastic anymore. I mean, all these individually wrapped granola bars and the silly candies my husband buys. And I started to pull all this stuff out and clean it off and send it to you. And when you said enough, I found that it was so eye-opening that I really couldn't stop.
Mm.
And it gave me this idea that people really have to know about this if they could just see it. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great to do like a municipal project, like and make a wall of plastic that was like a real tsunami, like however high that is, over 1,000 feet or something.
Mhm.
And when I thought, wow, great idea, Chrissanth. Maybe you should make a small model to work this out. And so I started making a small 3x3 model, and I realized I was having to pick the plastic apart into these tiny pieces, and it became such a exercise in craziness that I said, no, 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 no.
What do you mean
Let's just
by
keep it simple.
what do you mean by picking it apart into small pieces?
Well, to get it to scale, if I wanted to really create the effect of what 1,000-foot plastic tsunami would look like,
Uh-huh.
the pieces of the plastic on my 3-foot model will have to be pretty tiny.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Okay.
Right? So
Okay.
using just a couple of plastic bags wouldn't really show the same feeling of it. So I got hung up on that and I said, okay, forget it. Let's just keep it simple and do a plastic tidal wave, something more manageable, something that you can fit in your studio. So with all the stuff I collected after you said stop, um, I started January 1st assembling all this stuff. And I turned out with a plastic tidal wave that was about 30 feet long, 25, 30 feet long, and about 52 inches wide.
Wow. So what kind of plastic went into making this tidal wave?
Well, it's supposed to be single-use plastic, but as I collected, quote, single-use plastic and did more research and joined the efforts of Beyond Plastics Bennington and became more educated and started reading it, I was like, guess what? Just about everything in the scheme of time is single-use plastic.
Yep.
Because, as you well know, even the most recyclable coated number 1 and number 2 plastics are really only downcycled.
Yeah.
And the most you can do that is 2 or 3 times before it all ends up in the ocean, in the incinerator, in a landfill, and in us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the whole notion of recycling is an utter hoax.
Yes. Yes, it is. Wow.
So that's why now I'm in big trouble, because I just unfurled my tidal wave in the driveway this afternoon because I'm making proposals to send around to different libraries. And I thought, I guess I better really know how long it is.
Uh-huh.
And now it's 47 feet long
Oh my gosh.
and growing.
So how are you putting it together? Is it all stitched?
Oh, no, 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 no. I had to take the easy route. I use packaging tape. It's the
Oh.
Easiest. I found I started using acrylic medium at first. It was taking forever to dry, and then it
Yeah.
was cracking and not the right medium for this project. So packing tape was the simplest and the easiest, and holds the stuff together. And it's made 4 trips to Albany this year in the effort to get our legislators to pass the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Infrastructure Act,
Yes,
which
that was
is,
amazing. I saw the pictures of you on the steps of the Capitol, or is it inside the
yep,
steps of the Capitol?
inside the $1 million steps in the Capitol. And it's been many times in the LOB, the Legislative Office Building as well,
Mhm.
holding it up. So I suspect it will make several more trips up there before we're done with it too.
Right. So we just passed it in the Senate. This is in New York
Yeah,
State for those listening.
yeah,
So it still has to pass the assembly. Hopefully, we'll pass the assembly.
right, right.
So
We're
you're
working
you
on
keep travel. You're traveling with Beyond Plastics, or you're just showing up on your own? How does that work?
Well, I've joined their group, so I attend all their Zoom meetings and,
Mhm.
receive their action plans. Also, the app Climate Action Now is really, really useful. It really
Oh,
gives you uh, fast ways, like with the touch of a finger, to call your legislators and to send emails. It's really fast.
oh,
And
that's great. I didn't know about that. Huh.
so, yeah, Beyond Plastics Bennington. Judith Enck offers a wonderful course on it, which I have yet to take. But it's like, I feel like I don't really need to know all the details. I mean, what I know right now is staggering enough.
Yeah.
And, it's pretty simple in my mind.
Yeah. But, I have taken that course now, I think 3 times. The first time was really unbelievably eye-opening, like
Mm.
shocking. I thought I might plunge myself into depression, but actually that's the beauty of this class being taught by Judith Enck is because she doesn't let you get to depression. She tells you of the possibilities and the solutions and all of that, even as she's telling you the most depressing facts. So I love her for that.
Yeah.
But I have taken it, I guess, once a year so far. So three, yeah, the third one. And I
Wow.
don't, um, when I took it the second time and the third time, I obviously am not taking as many notes anymore, but I'm just kind of absorbing the information. And there's always, new information as well. But I
Mm.
found it to be very eye-opening. Yes, we know without it how much, how awful the problem is, but to know the details, I
Mm.
found very satisfying.
Oh,
So,
that's great to know.
yeah.
That's where all your information comes from, that's
Yeah,
on the post?
yeah. I mean,
Fantastic.
their website is chock full of information. It's
Yeah,
just all you gotta do is take a look and everything is there. Did you
yeah.
take their activist training course?
No, no.
That was very interesting as well. Um, That was basically a weekend workshop, um, and it's free. Unlike the course, it's free. Um, and I think you have to take the course first in order to take the activist training workshop.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. So you meet up with them in Albany,
Yep.
and then what happens?
Well, depending what they have on the agenda, well, we get it first through security. Okay, that's
Okay,
always
how
really
do
fun.
you travel that thing? Okay, so you roll it up. You said it's 52 inches wide, so you roll it up.
Yeah,
How much is that roll? Is like 3 feet or something? 'Cause it's not just soft plastics, you have like,
I
clam
have.
containers and things like that in there as
Mhm.
well, right?
I do. It's pretty fat, but I've seen that, thank God for the packaging tape. It holds it together pretty well. It's pretty resilient, and I always like to carry a roll around with me if something gets torn off and I have to snap it back into place. But the last time I was there, they did take away my tape, which somehow got through security, so
What?
somebody got in trouble. Yeah, so we bring it in the LOB. They're very used to seeing it now. I roll it up so it's like a really big stuffed cabbage. Because I have a heavy duty plastic drop cloth that I roll around and I tie it up so that if I need to do it, one person can carry it. It would be real fun, but yeah. And then I take it to wherever they want to display it. We were in the tunnels that cross over between the Capitol and the LOB some of the last times, holding it up and
Sorry,
lobbying.
what is the LLB?
Oh, the Legislative Office Building. There's a
Oh,
tunnel that runs underground between the Capitol and the Legislative Building
got
office.
it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a good place for all the legislators to see it. And plastics, it's so ubiquitous in our lives, like that I see in my own household. They don't even realize that it's plastic where they're throwing out. It's a wrapper. That's where my food comes in. And
Right.
I'm pulling it out like this is plastic. This is plastic too. And that's plastic too. And when you see the details of it, it's very useful for the legislators to really connect to that. And especially when I show them that, hey, this is 6 months of plastic collected by one family of three who
Yeah.
is relatively enlightened, trying to avoid it wherever possible. But basically, this is what the average Joe comes home with, because I got to tell you, my husband likes what he likes. He likes his Fig Newtons. He's not going to stop buying them just because they come in plastic.
Yeah.
How many people can, it's time for our spring plantings. You go to the nursery. What do you do with all those plastic pots now?
Those are not recyclable at all.
No,
It
no.
took me a workshop at Beyond Plastics to know that black plastic is not
Yeah,
recyclable at all, no matter what it says.
that's right.
Yeah.
No matter how many triangles you stick on it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really criminal. I feel that our legislators have been allowed to overlook this for so long.
Yeah.
And I don't think that any change is going to come on the backs of those virtuous few who are determined to grow from seed and determined to leave a supermarket without plastic. I mean, I have not met the person who is able to do that yet.
I
So
think
our
they're,
legislators have got to set the standard. They've got to for any significant change to happen.
I agree. I think, everyone doing whatever they can to their ability in their own homes, whether
Mhm.
it's, limiting some plastic, limiting all plastic, trying to live zero waste or waste free, whatever you call it. I think those are all great things.
Mhm.
Um, but change has to come from the top. So if you are concerned about this, and you certainly should be,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
then you need to be calling your legislators. Yeah. I have
Oh,
to say,
yeah.
Beyond Plastic and the climate action emails that I get make it super easy. Like the
Yep.
whole script is there. Here's where
Yep.
to find the phone number. I literally follow the script. And I've called several times now, and it took me a long time to make that first phone call.
Right.
Just, I don't know. It's like, who am I to call a government office? I felt so like
Yeah.
insignificant, and shy about it. But once I made that first call and whoever picked up the phone was perfectly pleasant, like I was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, a few phone calls from a few people, from a few of us have helped. I mean, clearly we passed it through the New York State Senate. So
Mhm. Yeah.
fingers crossed we can do it through the assembly and actually pass it. But the in New York State, the plastic bag ban
Yeah.
passed many years ago now, right?
Right. Right.
And the plastic bags are still here. It's not being enforced.
It's better than it was, but it
Yes.
could be better still. Yeah, I know. I went into the pharmacy the other day and I saw them loading up a plastic bag with all this stuff. And I was like, that's not mine, is it? She said, no, 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 it's not yours. But I said, I thought plastic bags were banned. Oh, well, not in pharmacies because, you can't walk out with all these medications falling all over the place. And I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know. But my husband was shushing me the whole time. But now, as I have such strong reactions to the plastic, I'm an eagle eye for it like a hawk. And, so I get shushed a lot.
Yeah. I actually have to admit, I felt very guilty about this, but I reported a store. You can report a store for using plastic bags. I don't know if it's doing any good. And I certainly felt guilty. I think it was a wine store. I went
Oh,
in to get a bottle of wine and they started putting it in a plastic bag for me. And I said, no, I don't want the plastic bag. And aren't you not supposed to be using plastic bags anymore? And she said
yeah,
something to the fact that you can use up whatever you have left over. Right. This was only a few months ago, which is now
right,
years after this bill has been passed. So
right.
how much plastic bags could you possibly have left over?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So I felt bad because it's a local store. It wasn't like a big chain or anything like that. But I reported them because how
Yeah.
else are we going to stop this?
Where do you report them to?
So I looked it up through Beyond Plastics.
Oh, okay.
And there was a link. And I actually I think I looked it up through Beyond Plastics. I could be wrong now. Um, but it took me to this website and it's dec.ny.gov. And it says literally report a plastic bag violation.
Oh, great. Okay.
And you can add
Uh-huh.
it, you can fill out a form.
Man, oh man, I tell you, up here where I live, across from the Titicaca Reservoir, I love to sneak into those, let's say, the fishing sites. You had the tons of boats in there. You wonder who uses them. They're rarely out. But um, I have gotten stopped a few times in there. DEC officials have come in and said, you don't have a permit. You can't really do this. You could be
Oh, you
ticketed.
were picking up trash there?
I was painting, but
Oh,
while I paint, I also take trash out of there. And I also go in there when I'm doing roadside pickups and I pick up so much trash. My goodness. And this is all, along that road, that trash that people toss out of the car windows, it rolls, it gets blown down the embankments, very steep, into the water, like that.
yeah.
It's always seeking the path of least resistance to the water.
My mind boggles. I do not understand people in this day and age who still throw trash out of their car windows.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
what do you think is going to happen to that?
Yeah,
Why? Why can't you? What is so difficult
yeah,
about just taking it to your next destination and putting it in a garbage can there?
yeah, yeah. I don't get it. But that's why I was thinking that it would really be good to take this idea to schools and that it would be a great project for art teachers. But every art teacher I mentioned it to, it's crickets. And so I'm not sure why that is, but I'm starting to see that, these teachers and school administrators are answerable to mighty tough cookies. And their
Yeah.
priorities are mighty different than ours are.
Yeah.
Surprising. Like up here in North Salem, they finally managed to push through getting turf put down in the field, which I think is so idiotic. You
Wait.
spent over $1 million
Oh my,
to do it. Can you imagine?
that is awful. I have a friend.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah, I have a
And
friend
why?
who's fighting that in Montclair, New Jersey. There are so many
Yeah.
um, science
Yep.
reports about how bad it is for athletes, and not even let's not even talk about the fact that it's plastic and it's sending out poisons into the environment and into
Yep.
the athletes. It's just from the athlete's standpoint of playing on this hot turf. It's mind-boggling. I know my friend is
Yeah.
going through a lot about this and it's been very difficult.
And also the poor babies shouldn't have a day off when it rains, you know. It's like, how consequential is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't understand it. Pretty alarming, but I would like to take the tidal wave into schools. It may happen at some point, and right now I've been looking around at different libraries. The North Salem Library had it. Um, in their situation, they had it hanging up over the book stacks
Okay.
for a couple of months, and now it's time to get the word out and get it into some other libraries, and maybe some after-school library programs would be good because, like I said, that project opened my eyes.
Yeah.
Like, so,
I think you have a good point about trying to do it with the libraries, because I've been trying to do workshops for kids with plastic in the schools,
uh-huh,
and that has not been easy. I've been trying it for years
yeah,
now. And every now and then there's a program or a teacher, and I get hired and I bring plastic to the program. I always try to have the kids in the classroom collect the plastic,
oh
and then I
yeah,
help them create something from that plastic. But
yeah,
getting them to collect the plastic has been almost impossible. I
wow,
usually wind up having to bring the plastic to them, and then
mm,
they create from it, which
yeah,
kind of defeats the purpose
sure,
because they don't see it. They see it as an art material, but they don't actually spend the time finding it in their own homes.
in
And
their mind. That's right.
the couple of times I was able to get some people to bring in, like some teacher just went to the grocery store and got brand new plastic bags and brought them in for me to make art with.
Oh my good
And
God.
my jaw fell to the ground when I walked into the
Oh,
classroom.
yeah.
So it's hard
Um,
to explain to people. It's hard to make them understand. But I also think that even in Westchester County, where you and I live, where most districts are well funded as opposed to the rest of the country, um, I think the teachers are still overwhelmed and underfunded, and they have curriculums to keep up with, and the standardized testing and all of that, and that they just
mhm,
don't have the bandwidth
yeah, yeah,
to host someone like you and I.
yeah,
It just doesn't fit into their packed curriculum.
sure. Makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to do with that. I tried doing that as a after school program once.
Uh-huh,
Um, I didn't have a lot of kids sign up. The
right,
PTA hired me, um,
yeah,
but they could not get enough people to sign up. People wanted to do arts and crafts, but they didn't necessarily wanted to do them with plastic.
right, right.
I persevered through one of those.
Mhm, mhm,
I don't know that it actually worked out to the best of my ability because I had no support from the PTA other than, "Here you go. This is a
yeah,
classroom for you, and
right,
here's the kids." So,
right.
I don't know. I am sort of rethinking that
Yeah,
because I it's not it's only working from the crafty, fun perspective. I'm not able to really reach the kids and the parents and make them understand what they're working with.
yeah. Well, that's a challenge because when I met with our school superintendent, what I learned was that unless it's going to help a kid with a college application, your time is better focused on the elementary schools because that's when parents and families are the most involved and something is most likely to happen. Uh, I don't know if there's going to be any bandwidth for that here at all. But I that's why I want to get the tidal wave out there. The people should see it, and it might help them to recognize some of these plastics in their lives and to notice how much of it is going through.
No, I think art as a visual aid is the best thing out there
Yeah, yeah,
because people can read all about it and they can, hear all about it, but until they see the visual representation, they don't get it.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of them don't. So, So
Right.
kudos to you for trying to get it out there. Thank you for doing that.
No, we'll see.
Oh, I know. It's such a hard subject to have a lighthearted conversation about, huh?
Yeah, it is. But, I feel like you have to just keep showing up because I have my youngest child who's now 28 living with me, and she was a flower farmer in Baltimore for a few years. She's moved back home because she was thinking about going to grad school in botany, but has decided to go to landscape design and things like that. So she's working on the property, and she says she global warming is the first thing she thinks of when she wakes up and the last thing she thinks of when she goes to sleep. And it's tough realities that our youngsters have to face. And so I feel I have to set an example of keep showing up, just fight the good fight
Yep.
and don't give up. Keep using your voice. Don't give up. Show up. Go to Albany. Keep calling them. Impress upon them the action that you want taken. So it's the only thing I can really think to do, and it doesn't feel right to me. What are our options? To ignore it? That just doesn't feel right.
No, you're
Denial?
absolutely right.
No, no, no.
We can't, brush it under the rug. I think there was a great ad campaign from a few years ago. I don't remember who put it out, but it was obviously a photoshopped photograph of a wave hitting the beach, and then a hand picking up the wave, and underneath the wave on the sand is all the plastic.
Wow.
I thought it was such a great visual. But I think it must be at least 5 years old now.
Wow. Yeah.
Maybe it was from Plastic Pollutes or something like that. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we got to keep showing up. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And encourage other people to show up as well.
Exactly. And, all this plastic they say we're imbibing now on a daily basis. I was inspired to paint a fetus inside like a raspberry or blueberry container with
Uh-huh.
acrylic paint. And, think the thought was, we're so trapped by our addiction to plastic that we are now going to feed plastic to the next generation. And so I generated a few of these items, and I even asked Judith, like, hey, why don't I send this little package with a note inside saying, we're feeding the next generation plastic. Let's pass the PRRI now. She
Yeah.
was, oh, well, I don't know. That may be a little heavy hitting for them. It may be kind of a turnoff. And maybe some people would conflate it with this abortion stuff that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
She encouraged me to do it differently, which I did, sent it out to the sticky assembly people who are not in my district, but I've done it.
Well, I hope you have taken pictures of those and shared it on Instagram, or we'll share it on Instagram.
Yeah, I think they are, but I should put it out again because I think it's a powerful message. And
I think so, definitely.
yeah,
Maybe now you need to make an installation of these clamshell containers painted with babies, fetuses inside.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's grabbing my imagination, but it's not a big return on investment. I have to say, my income is taking a big hit, having spent my first trimester of the year on the tidal wave.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can
but
imagine.
it's rewarding and important work for sure. And I can't stop. What am I going to do? Am I going to just throw it in the garbage now?
Oh, you
I
can't.
can't. I think this tidal wave is, how long is it going to be before I drop dead?
Well, hopefully soon enough I'll be doing a project and I'll need your excess plastic. So I'll take some.
Oh, yeah, you'll know where to go.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Chrisanth. You inspire me every day. I really appreciate it.
And likewise, you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening in on our conversation. I hope you enjoyed it.
This podcast was created, produced, and edited by me, Natalia Korover. Theme music by R.C. Gaida. Find out more about me at artbynatalia.com, find out about my community at repurposercollective.com, and about my kids' education initiatives at ecoloop.art. Thank you for listening.